Hey folks, what's up? This is Adam here. I can't see the guy. Welcome to the Movie Vault. Right, here on the Movie Vault today, I want to review a episode from a TV series known as Goosebumps. Now, this is something different. Usually, I'm used to reviewing your typical Nightmare on Elm Street, your Friday the 13th, your Halloweens, Hellraisers, hell, even Child's Play, and some comedies and action hero movies, But this is something slightly different. Now, for those of you who were a kid growing up in the 90s and you're a fan of Goosebumps, you'll understand where I'm coming from straight away. Because I, for one, was a big fan of the Goosebumps books, written by R.L.Stine, Richard Lewis Stein. And what was so intriguing about the Goosebumps books back in the day was the front cover of each book, whether it was like Stay Out of the Basement, Say Cheese and Die, Beware the Snowman, There was countless Goosebumps books and there were so many of them. And I've got a massive collection of Goosebumps books. And believe it or not, I still have them. They're all in the attic in this cardboard box. It's been unopened for years. And I just know if I go to the attic right now and reopen this box full of Goosebumps books, memories are going to hit me so freaking hard, because the Goosebumps books are a big part of my childhood. I was a big Goosebumps fanatic. And I collected all the books. I mean, Mother, God bless her soul, knew how much I loved Goosebumps because not only am I a horror fanatic, but these are horror stories for kids, and everybody knows what I'm talking about when they say they're a big Goosebumps fanatic and these horror stories for children, because you have your typical Goosebumps books where it said at the bottom of the book, read and beware, you're in for a scare. And then they had the other Goosebumps books called Read and Beware, You Choose the Scare, where you've got to pretend you're in the story and you do all these clever decisions at the end of each page, and it flicks to a certain page. Sometimes it's the right decision, sometimes it's the wrong decision, and they were fun little books. And like I say, one day I really got to relive my childhood dreams and go back into the attic and just reread all these Goosebumps books again. But anyway, Goosebumps also did a TV series where they did episodes based on the books. And I've seen quite a few of these. So what I want to talk about today is The Haunted Mask. Now, I have read The Haunted Mask Goosebumps book, but it was years ago. And the reason why I'm reviewing this is because, I was just looking online about some novels and Goosebumps popped up and I was like, wow, Goosebumps, why didn't I think of that before? And I was looking at all these Goosebumps novels, and one that stood out was The Haunted Mask. And The Haunted Mask is one I read back in the day, and I remember I really enjoyed the book. And I said to myself, why not check out the Goosebumps episode, of The Haunted Mask? Because I have seen some Haunted Mask episodes. I've seen A Night in Terror Tower. I've seen Night of the Living Dummy 3. Welcome to Horrorland. So I've seen numerous episodes, but one that I did not see was The Haunted Mask, and I've just watched it moments ago. And it was like going back in time. And it resembles to the book in so many different ways. Basically, what the episode is about this girl by the name of Carly Beth. And she's a bit of a scaredy cat. She's always teased at school, particularly by all these bullies. She gets scared very easily, and people are aware of this. Hence why she gets picked on quite frequently. Particularly by these two boys. I mean, they play pranks on her to scare her, try to make her become a laughing stock, embarrass her. There's even a scene where they put a fucking worm in a sandwich, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you can get sued for doing anything like that in today's day and age. But fucking hell, yeah, they put a worm in a sandwich, and she actually bites into the sandwich. She goes, "Oh, it's a worm," and all the kids start laughing at her, and she runs away crying. One person that really feels for her is her best friend, Sabrina. And I recognise the Sabrina character. She's been in quite another few Goosebumps episodes. I mean, I could be wrong about this, but just by looking at her face now, I think she was also in A Night in Terror where she played Sue. Eddie's older sister. I could be wrong about that. But come to think of it, she also looks like the girl from Night of the Living Dummy 3, Trina. But again, I could be wrong. I'd have to look all this up. But yeah, watching this episode just reminded me so much of the book. I mean, like I say, Carly Beth is the main character, a scaredy cat. She gets bullied by all these kids at school, particularly by these two boys. And she gets loads of pranks played on her. And like I say, the worm sandwich was probably the most memorable part, you know, where she gets bites into the worm and she's like, oh, it's a worm. And I'm like, ooh, you know, one thing to point in the Goosebumps episode, I mean, these are like horror stories for kids, you know, nothing too gruesome, nothing too gory or anything like that. But that scene, you're like, whoa, you really feel for Carly Beth. You do feel for the character. And I thought the actress who played it did a really great job. Well, anyway, Halloween's approaching, and Carly Beth is sick of all the bullying. She's sick of feeling sorry for herself, and she plans on getting revenge on all the bullies. And since Halloween's approaching, she has one intention in mind, that's to get around back on all the bullies by scaring them, by making them aware of how she actually feels inside. And she says, what better way to do it than to buy a really scary mask? You know, so she goes to the store where they're selling all these masks. The shopkeeper is a bit of a shady character, like a little bit of a gloomy character, you know, looking like some sort of zombie. Well, anyhow, he's on the telephone while Carly Beth is looking around the store, and she sees all these masks on the wall, and she's intrigued by the masks. You know, she's looking at all these masks one by one, and they're all scary, but Carly Beth is under the impression that they're just not scary enough. Not scary enough to do what she wants to do. She wants to get a really, really terrifying mask to really scare all these bullies. You know, I mean, in the meantime, you get introduced to some other characters like Carly Beth's younger brother, who also plays pranks on her. You got introduced to her mother as a sculptor. She made like this sculpture head of Carly Beth's head. But she also made like a duck costume for like Halloween. And although Carly Beth is appreciative of her mother, she doesn't want to be a duck for Halloween because that puts a target on her back for her to be bullied even more. You know, because there's a scene in this where after the worm sandwich prank, she just rips up the duck costume, and you really feel sorry for her. You know, you feel her pain, especially for kids who have been bullied. They understand Carly Beth's pain. I mean, this episode of The Haunted Mask, it does give out a good message at the end, saying believe in yourself, don't let others put you down, don't let bullies win, believe in yourself. Revenge is never the answer. You know, but anyway, Carly Beth, she like goes into this back room, and then she sees all these other masks, and these masks are 10 times more terrifying than the masks that have been sold in the store. And there's one mask in particular that really stands out to her. It's like a lumpy reptile mask, you know, with fangs, and I thought it was a very impressive mask. Love the design, love the shape. It was like a reptile with fangs, like. And while she's mesmerised by this mask, the shopkeeper comes into the room and he's like, what are you doing back here? You shouldn't be here. These masks are not for sale. And Carly Beth is like, why aren't they for sale? And the shopkeeper is like, these masks are too terrifying, you know, and too terrifying to the point where they're not even allowed to be sold. But Carly Beth says to herself, that's the whole point, you know, I really want a terrifying mask to scare these bullies, you know. I really, really need this terrifying mask, particularly this one. And he's like, no, that mask is not for sale, that's too terrifying. And there's a scene where Carly Beth just simply grabs the mask, throws the money at the shopkeeper, and then runs out the store. You know, and that was different from the book, because I do remember in the book, Carly Beth is actually begging the shopkeeper to the point where he eventually gives in and actually sells the mask to Carly Beth. But here in the episode, it's different. She's like, it's trying to make it seem like Carly Beth is not like a bad kid, because she did pay for the mask. She like threw the money at the shopkeeper, then she ran away with the mask. If she would have simply just ran away with the mask, that was classed as stealing. But in a way, this is classed as stealing, although she paid for it. You know, the mask was not for sale, but you know, they're trying to make the viewers aware that she was not this entirely bad kid, you know, because at least she paid for the mask, you know. But I do remember in the book, you know, the shopkeeper did give in and sold the mask, because there's a scene, there's like a little verse in the book where he says, can I get you a bag for it? But Carly Beth had already left the store with the mask, so that's one thing I do remember. Anyway, Carly Beth is now over the moon that she's got this mask, you know. She says, It's a cool mask, this is the new me. I'm going to scare people, and she puts the mask on and she starts terrifying all these kids in the neighbourhood. But one thing she notices when she tries to take the mask off for the first time, she has difficulty trying to take the mask off. Now, my impression would be if I can't get it off the first time, I never fucking put the thing on again, but that wasn't the case for Carly Beth. Despite having difficulty taking the mask off for the first time, she puts it on the second time. And of course, when her friend Sabrina sees her, she doesn't recognise Carly Beth at first. She's like, Carly Beth, is that you? And she goes, yes, Sabrina, it's me. She goes, that's a cool mask. That's scary. And one by one, they go trick-or-treating to these different houses. There's a scene where she scares a little girl and the mother gets really pissed off. So she's walking around with this mask on, carrying this sculpture of her head, and she even gets her own back on the bullies, which was a nice little scene to see, just to prove that the bullies were a bunch of cowards. They saw Carly Beth in the mask, they ran the other way. It was a good little episode, The Haunted Mask. And for what I remember is there's scenes in the film, where she's like trying to take the mask off, but she can't because the mask is now stuck to her skin. And she thinks the only way she knows how to take this mask off is by going back to the shopkeeper and finding out the way how to take off the mask. And the shopkeeper reveals the only way you can remove the mask is by a symbol of love, because whether you like it or not, it's now your new face. Hence why the masks were not for sale, because apparently the masks were real faces, made in his lab, and then they just put on the mask and then become a real face. Which is like a cool little scary story for a kid's novel, So when I compare the novel to the episode, what do I prefer more? I'd say the book. Because with the book, you tend to use your imagination a little bit more. I mean, you use your imagination more about Carly Beth's character, about how scared she was. And again, you picture the mask in your mind about what this mask really looks like, this terrifying mask. I mean, it was like a green reptile mask on the front of the cover of the book. But you try to use your imagination a little bit more about this mask when you actually read the book. I mean, it says in the book, the shopkeeper says it's now your real face, and the only way you can remove it is by a symbol of love, And she succeeds from this lesson, from this story, and she does end up taking the mask off again. And then that's where they close the ending, where Carly Beth's little brother puts on the mask and says, hey, Carly Beth, how do I look in your mask? And that's when it leads to The Haunted Mask too. So overall, I do prefer the book over the episode, but has been said, the episode was a really nice little thing to watch. It was a nice little touch. They gave some references to the book, and again, it was a nice little episode to watch. Not too long, about 45 minutes long. So it was a good little episode, and again, got no problem with the characters. And for a good little story about a haunted mask, it really well paid off. A good little horror story about the mask, being able to come off the girl's face, and the only way you can do it is by a symbol of love. And I love the message it gives out about believing in yourself, don't let bullies win, they're cowards, and it really gives out a good positive message of Haunted Mask. But again, after watching this episode, I feel like watching more, because I feel like reliving the kid moments. And like I say, I really must go back up in the attic, open this box set that's not been open for years, and relive all the great moments of reading all these Goosebumps books, because I'm now 36 years of age, and one thing I would love to do is relive the good times of being a kid again by rereading all these great stories that I was a big fan of when I was a kid growing up. R.L.Stine's a legend. I like his imagination with these Goosebumps books. I mean, not only did he do Goosebumps, he did, what was the other one? Fear Street. He also did Fear Street. And he also did some introductions at the start of some of these episodes also. So, yeah, The Haunted Mask, it was a nice little watch. I really do recommend it for horror fanatics. Again, it's nothing gory, it's nothing too over the top. Remember, they're cartoons, horror stories for kids, basically. So it's nothing too over the top horrific, So, but again, a good little watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing more. So please leave a comment below, everybody, and if you've got any questions, that's The Haunted Mask. Thanks, everyone. Peace out.